From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. Before 2016, more than 1,200 rape kits in Montana sat untested. Now, because of the Sexual Assault Kit Initiative, that backlog has disappeared and all of those kits have been tested. In 2020 alone, though, there were nearly 1,500 victims of sexual assault in Montana. Thanks to legislation and a federal grant, there is hope that the sexual assault kits from cases like those won't build back up.
When it comes to prosecuting rape and sexual assault cases, this white box is extremely important.
It starts with getting a sex kit. That's the start. Yeah, that's the start.
Across the country, thousands of these sexual assault kits sit untested, and that creates a backlog of nearly 4,500 untested kits to the west in Washington state. And to the east in Minnesota, nearly 5,000 kits sit untested. Thanks to the Sexual Assault Kit Initiative, law enforcement and policy reforms, Montana is not facing the same problem.
We have tested a total of 1,260 unsubmitted, untested kits. And those kits range from 1995 to 2015.
But there is still work to be done. The state was awarded another Sexual Assault Kit Initiative grant through 2023. The federally funded grant will help collect untested kits from 2016 through 2019 and any partially tested kits. Partially tested means kits that have been tested, but not in a way that allows the DNA to be submitted to the National Combined DNA Index System database, or CODIS.
I can't tell you how many partially tested kits we might find because it's new here in Montana. So who knows the dates for these kits.
No matter how old the kit, Gallagher says getting DNA tested and into CODIS is a big step.
I think many, if not most, rapists have raped more than once. And so I just think having that DNA profile developed in a searchable database is very important.
So Montana is making strides when it comes to ending the backlog of untested sexual assault kits. And Senate Bill 52, passed in the 2019 legislative session, helps ensure another backlog does not build up. Gallagher says all of this can be helpful when a case gets to the courtroom.
It settles lots of cases and keeps everybody from having to go through the trauma of a trial, and it lends to better, more frequent, timelier, and better plea agreements.
All of that thanks to the information collected in this small white box. In Helena, Marion Davidson, MTN News.
Well, when a sexual assault kit gets sent to the lab, documenting chain of custody is important. The lab will get items like swabs, victims' clothing, and bedding. It's presumed that sealed evidence mailed to the lab wasn't tampered with. The lab then keeps a chain of custody business record of who handled the evidence. On the national front, President Biden hosted the governors of some western states today to discuss the dangers of wildfires and what his administration plans to do to combat the blazes. Skylar Henry has more details from the White House.
Firefighters worked through the night, struggling to contain the lava fire on Mount Shasta in California. It exploded to more than 13,000 acres Tuesday, forcing evacuations. So far, wildfires have already burned more than 1.4 million acres this year, and the season is just getting started.
The threat of western wildfires this year is as severe as it's ever been.
President Biden was joined virtually by governors of western states during a cabinet meeting Wednesday to discuss the dangers wildfires pose this year. The president wants to be able to surge firefighting capacity, starting with a $2 raise for federal firefighters so they can earn $15 an hour. He's also extending the seasonal hiring of firefighters and training for federal employees and military personnel to help fight fires.
Music to my ears. We got to pay our firefighters federally more because we don't have enough firefighters, period, full stop.
The Biden administration says climate change is what's driving up record hot temperatures and creating drought conditions, which lead to those wildfires.
We're seeing wildfires of greater intensity that move with more speed, and last well beyond traditional months.
Our states are truly on the front lines when it comes to drought, fires, and our rapidly changing climate.
President Biden is calling on Congress to include money to combat climate change in the upcoming budget bill. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
Now, Montana Governor Gov Gianforte was not one of the 8 invited to that meeting this afternoon. In response to not receiving an invite, Gianforte and Idaho Governor Brad Little sent a letter to the Biden administration urging an active and responsive partnership on wildfires. The governor's letter notes the 2 states' extensive experience and expertise in fighting and preventing fires and working partnerships between state and federal agencies. Well, Governor Gianforte made a stop at a Billings firehouse today where he honored a group of Billings firefighters. QT's Mitch Legge brings us that story.
Governor Gov Gianforte stopped at Billings Fire Station 2 on Wednesday to present the technical rescue team with the Spirit of Montana Award for their dedication in rescuing a man who was trapped in a sugar silo earlier this year. On May 28th, a worker at the Western Sugar Cooperative Factory fell into a silo full of fine-grained sugar and became buried up to his chest. The technical rescue team were credited with saving the man's life in a delicate 2-hour operation that was the first of its kind to be undertaken by the team. Chris Voller was the first to make contact with the man and had to squeeze through a hole 18 inches in diameter to get there, about the same size as the fire hose that he has in his hands. Firefighters had to carefully maneuver equipment through the small gap to help the man escape.
Everything had to come in. We had to build it there to make all of our protective safety measures with the box around him, and then all of our digging equipment, everything had to come in through an 18-inch opening.
Voller said the technical rescue team is about 32 members strong, but many more Billings firefighters helped out on that day.
It is an honor to get this award. It's a very big-time achievement award that we accept as an entire team, because it was an entire team effort. Everybody else from Billings Fire Department helped out that day as well, so it was more than just the technical rescue team on scene that day. It was every Billings firefighter that showed.
Reporting in Billings, Mitch Legge, MTN News.
Thanks, Mitch. The Billings Technical Rescue Team also helps people who've fallen from the Billings rims or get stranded on the Yellowstone River. Carbon County following suit with the rest of the region as it announces Stage 2 fire restrictions will go into effect on Friday. All this as crews continue to work the lines of the state's largest wildfire just south of Red Lodge. The Robertson Draw Fire is now 65% contained as the Northern Rockies Type 2 Incident Management Team took over today. The Stage 2 restrictions mean no open burning. That includes campfires, open burns, and trash barrel burns. Also, no off-road travel allowed on designated road or trail, and no internal combustion engines between 1 p.m. and 1 a.m. in wildland fuel areas except for agriculture equipment. The Carbon County attorney has determined that Stage 2 restrictions do not, however, prohibit fireworks.
Stage 2 fire restrictions, although it does include explosives, is not intended to cover fireworks. So fireworks are still permitted on private lands. However, we are urging the utmost caution when igniting fireworks. We ask that people ignite them in non-flammable areas and that they have suitable suppression materials and equipment nearby. Water hose, fire extinguishers, shovels, things to that effect to help extinguish any fire starts.
McCauley says the expected crowds for the 4th of July, fuel moisture content, weather, and the 2 wildfires are all factors in the Stage 2 decision. All right, turning to Chief Meteorologist Ed McIntosh. Ed, the hot, dry weather we've had certainly not helping with the wildfires. Any relief in sight for the start of July, at least?
With the first part of July, it looks like it might be the hottest overall, but take a look at the monthly outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. A 70% chance of hotter than average temperatures across at least the central and western portions of the state. A 60% chance of hotter than average temperatures across the eastern plains. That whittles down to about a 7% chance that it could actually be wetter than average. Drier than average, about 50% chance that we'll have drier than average conditions across Montana as well. So keep in mind that that's an overall average. We'll still have some cooler and perhaps wetter days. We'll start off hot and dry, but we could start to see a little relief by later on in the month. But definitely we'll see those impacts still in aggravating the fire risk and having effects on agriculture overall. Closer look at the forecast coming up in a few minutes.
Well, a missing endangered person advisory by the Billings Police Department for a 3-month-old infant who has gone missing along with his mother was just issued. Zaire Beston, a 3-month-old white male infant, has brown eyes, sandy hair, is less than 2 feet tall, weighs less than 20 pounds. Zaire was last known to be traveling with his mother, Kelsey Lene McChesney. And now the last contact with both Zaire and Kelsey was on June 26th, and recent information reported to law enforcement has led to strong concern for both of their well-beings. Kelsey is a 19-year-old white female, 5 feet 4 inches tall, about 180 pounds, with blue eyes and blonde hair. She has piercings in her nose, lip, and ears, with tattoos on her face and neck. If you've got any information on their whereabouts, you're asked to call 911. Governor Greg Gianforte announced today that he's ended the COVID-19 state of emergency in Montana. On March 13th of 2020, then President Trump declared a national state of emergency due to the COVID-19 outbreak. On January 13th of 2021, Governor Gianforte extended the statewide emergency previously issued by former Montana Governor Steve Bullock. In ending that order today, Gianforte cited that nearly 50% of the state is now fully vaccinated. He also mentioned growth in the state's economy.
This is really a step towards completely getting back to normal. Working with the legislature and our red tape relief task force, we've made many of the relaxation in regulations permanent, and we're going to be able to keep that. That's really a silver lining coming out of this pandemic.
Well, Bill Cosby is once again a free man. Today, Pennsylvania Supreme Court overturned the comedian's sex assault conviction. The man, who was once known as America's Dad, was the first celebrity tried and convicted in the Me Too era. Elise Preston has the latest from New York.
After a stunning court reversal, Bill Cosby has been released from prison.
Mr. Cosby, how does it feel to be home?
Well, he is extremely happy to be home. He looks forward to reuniting with his wife and his children. And obviously, this has been a hard 3 years for this entire family.
Pennsylvania's highest court overturned the 83-year-old sexual assault conviction on a technicality.
This decision will be criticized far and wide, even though the lawyers would tell you it is a correct decision. He was not found not guilty. He was not now innocent.
Cosby was convicted in 2018 of drugging and molesting Temple University employee Andrea Constan at his suburban Philadelphia estate in 2004. But Pennsylvania Supreme Court says Cosby should never have been charged because a former district attorney made a deal with the comedian. In exchange for testimony in a civil case brought by Constan, Cosby would not face criminal charges.
Bill Cosby relied on that promise. He could not take the Fifth Amendment to say that he could incriminate himself because he was never going to be prosecuted.
Cosby was sentenced to 3 to 10 years and vowed to serve his whole sentence rather than admit wrongdoing or remorse. At least 60 other women stepped forward with stories similar to Constan's. Attorney Gloria Allred represents nearly 36 of Cosby's accusers.
This was a very important fight for justice, and it should not be interpreted as a statement or a finding that he did not engage in the acts of which he has been accused.
So far, prosecutors have not said whether they will appeal. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
Well, in a statement, Cosby accuser Andrea Constad said the court's decision was disappointing, but she was most concerned that it may discourage those who seek justice from sexual assault from seeking it. Still to come on the MTN 10 o'clock news here on Q2, a highly fatal virus once again striking Montana's rabbits. We'll have details coming up in tonight's Montana Ag Report. Then a little later in sports, we'll catch up with the Billings Royals as they look to keep their winning ways as they get closer to state.